The moment itself is procedural. No moral speeches. No police raids. No sudden disappearance of intimacy. The change arrives as guidelines, public health frameworks, social stability measures, consent optimization. The language is clinical, careful, designed to calm rather than provoke. Sex is not banned. It is structured, timed, allocated, approved. At first, people misunderstand. They assume it applies only to extremes, to dangerous behavior, to exploitation, to things most people already distance themselves from. The policy is framed as protection against addiction, against coercion, against emotional harm, against excess. The illusion holds because nothing stops immediately. Couples still touch. Relationships still exist. Desire does not vanish. The regulation does not reach into bedrooms overnight. It enters quietly through systems people already accept. Healthcare first. Doctors begin asking new questions. Frequency, emotional impact, dependency patterns. Data is collected gently, anonymously, for now. The goal, they say, is understanding. Education follows. Schools adjust curricula. Sex is no longer framed as exploration, but as a resource, finite, powerful, destabilizing if unmanaged. Students are taught moderation the way earlier generations were taught nutrition. Too much is harmful. Too little is unhealthy. Balance is essential. People nod. This makes sense. Workplaces adapt next. Policies around relationships tighten. Disclosure becomes encouraged, then required. Intimacy between coworkers is not forbidden, but scheduled counseling is recommended. Patterns are monitored for disruptive intensity. Romantic spontaneity becomes a liability. Still, most people are unconcerned. The regulation feels distant, abstract, like a guideline that applies to someone else. People trust they will fall well within acceptable limits. They always do until limits become visible. The first licenses appear, not permits to have sex, but permits to exceed baseline allowances. Special consideration for long-term partners, for married couples, for those with documented emotional need. The language avoids judgment, but thresholds exist. Apps update quietly. Health trackers integrate intimacy metrics. Not explicit content, just frequency, duration, recovery. Data is anonymized, they insist. Used only for aggregate analysis. People agree. They already share everything else. Then come the notifications. Soft at first. Gentle reminders. You are approaching your recommended threshold. Consider rest. Emotional saturation detected. Feels absurd. People laugh. They mock it online. Memes spread. This will never work, they say. Desire cannot be regulated. They are right, but behavior can be shaped. Doctors begin advising sexual cool-down periods for patients experiencing anxiety or depression. Therapists frame abstinence as mental hygiene. Insurance premiums shift subtly, rewarding compliance. No one is punished. They are incentivized. Relationships change tone. Partners begin negotiating schedules. Not because they want to, but because ignoring the system creates friction. Medical notes, counseling referrals, raised questions. Love becomes logistical. Intimacy requires planning. The first real damage appears psychologically. Not in desire, but in permission. People start asking themselves whether they should want sex, rather than whether they do. Desire becomes something to justify, something to explain. Those with higher libido feel defective. Those with lower libido feel virtuous. A hierarchy forms quietly, built not on morality, but on compliance. Casual sex disappears fastest. Not outlawed, discouraged. Untracked encounters raise flags. Unregistered partners create data gaps. Gaps invite scrutiny. Spontaneity becomes suspicious. Bars grow quieter. Dating apps lose urgency. Conversations shift from chemistry to compatibility metrics. People screen not for attraction, but for alignment with regulation tolerance. The body adapts. Arousal becomes tense, not free. People suppress instinct reflexively, unsure whether it is worth the administrative weight. Desire does not disappear, it waits. Waiting changes it. Anger surfaces in unexpected places. Irritability, restlessness, a low-level frustration that has no language because society insists nothing has been taken away. After all, sex still exists, just not freely. The state insists it is not interested in pleasure, only in stability. They point to studies, reduced harassment, fewer impulsive decisions, declines in workplace conflict, improvements in focus and productivity. The data supports them, but data does not measure longing. It does not measure the quiet erosion of touch as a form of communication. The way intimacy once resolved tension before it became resentment. The way bodies used to speak when words failed. Hospitals notice changes, not physical ones, emotional ones. Patients report numbness, disconnection, a sense of being managed rather than lived. Therapists increase prescriptions for substitutes, exercise, mindfulness, social bonding exercises. None of them replace touch. The first illegal networks form quietly, not for pornography, for privacy. Encrypted spaces where people share how to avoid tracking, how to lie to systems designed to optimize them, how to feel something unmeasured again. These people are not criminals. They are ordinary teachers, nurses, engineers, couples who love each other and resent needing permission to express it fully. Children grow up watching all of this. They learn that sex is powerful and dangerous, that desire must be managed before it manages you, that pleasure is something adults negotiate with authority. They internalize caution early. By the time society realizes the regulation has changed not behavior but psychology, it is already embedded everywhere: healthcare, education, work, technology. Sex has not been forbidden. It has been reframed, from instinct to resource, from expression to variable, from connection to risk. And as people begin to feel the weight of constant restraint, a realization spreads slowly, quietly, without protest. This was not about safety. It was about predictability. And in making desire manageable, something essential has begun to fracture. Not loudly, not violently, but deeply. This was not repression. It was regulation of the most human impulse. And once that impulse is measured, counted, and optimized, the question is no longer whether people will obey. It is what happens inside them when they do. This was not a social experiment. It was a fundamental loss. Time passes, and outrage dissolves into habit. The system does not tighten dramatically. It does not need to. People internalize it. What once felt intrusive becomes background noise, like surveillance cameras or terms of service no one reads anymore. Life reorganizes around restraint. Intimacy becomes scheduled, anticipated, rationed. People plan their weeks around allowed windows the way earlier generations planned vacations. Desire is no longer something that interrupts life. It is something that must fit inside it. And when it does not fit, it waits. Waiting changes people. Relationships become calmer on the surface. Fewer dramatic breakups. Less jealousy. Less impulsive betrayal. Conflict declines, statistically. Couples report stability. Governments celebrate improved emotional regulation. But stability is not closeness. Partners touch less without noticing. Small gestures disappear first. Lingering hands, spontaneous kisses, unplanned closeness. Not because they are forbidden, but because they feel inefficient. Why start something that must be paused, logged, moderated? Silence replaces tension. Sex becomes intentional, but intention strips it of accident, of surprise, of the irrational spark that once reminded people they were more than routines with names. Those who comply fully feel clean, organized, balanced. Those who struggle feel ashamed. Not morally, medically. Desire is reframed as a symptom. Excess libido becomes something to manage, like anxiety or insomnia. Pills are prescribed. Therapies adjusted. Society becomes fluent in explaining away longing. People learn to distrust their bodies. They monitor themselves constantly. Is this attraction appropriate? Is this urge necessary? Is it worth triggering review, conversation, intervention? Most decide it is not. Single people adapt differently. Dating slows to a crawl. Romance feels bureaucratic before it begins. Disclosure replaces flirtation. Chemistry is evaluated after compatibility, not before. Many stop trying altogether. Loneliness grows, but quietly. After all, connection is still possible. Friendships, group activities, approved bonding exercises. Everything except the one thing that once cut through isolation instantly. The body remembers what society forgets. Tension accumulates. Dreams change. Sleep becomes restless. Aggression leaks into unrelated spaces. Online arguments, road rage, sudden bitterness towards strangers. No one connects it to intimacy because intimacy is supposedly still available, just managed. Culture reflects the shift. Art becomes careful. Music loses heat. Films imply desire rather than showing it. Passion becomes nostalgic, framed as something people used to risk. Eroticism survives only as memory or rebellion. Humor grows colder. People joke about quotas, about alerts, about being over limit. Laughter becomes a pressure valve, releasing what cannot be touched. Children grow up emotionally restrained. They learn early that desire is powerful and dangerous, that losing control is failure, that pleasure is something adults negotiate with systems smarter than they are. Adolescence becomes quieter, not healthier. Rebellion finds new paths. Some turn to violence, some to dissociation, some to obsession with anything unregulated, extreme sports, substances, ideology. The need to feel unmeasured does not disappear. It mutates. Black markets evolve. Not brothels, sanctuaries, places without tracking, without data, without metrics, where touch happens without documentation. These spaces are not wild. They are reverent, almost sacred. People do not go there for excess. They go there to remember. Authorities tolerate them unofficially. Shutting them down would expose how necessary they have become. Instead, they are monitored lightly, kept small, allowed to exist as pressure vents in a sealed system. Biology responds over generations. Libido declines on average, not because genes change, but because expression does. Selection favors emotional containment. People who feel less desire suffer less conflict. They are praised as balanced, mature, evolved. Something ancient fades. The link between impulse and intimacy, between tension and release, between touch and meaning. Sex was never just pleasure. It was communication, reassurance, a reminder of being wanted without justification. Now everything requires justification. Society becomes calmer, more productive, more predictable, and emptier. People stop talking about love the way they used to. They describe relationships in terms of compatibility, sustainability, regulation tolerance. Passion is considered adolescent, dangerous, unreliable. Those who still feel deeply learn to hide it, not from the state, from each other, because uncontrolled desire now feels embarrassing, almost primitive. Looking back, historians will debate whether regulation saves society from excess. They will point to reduced harm, fewer abuses, more stable institutions. They will argue that humanity outgrew chaos. But they will struggle to explain something else. Why birth rates continued to fall even when reproduction was still allowed. Why depression persisted despite optimization. Why people reported feeling safe but rarely fulfilled. The answer will not be found in policy. It will be found in absence. The absence of being overtaken by another person. The absence of losing control safely. The absence of intimacy that does not ask permission. Sex was never just an act. It was a reminder that humans are not fully governable. By regulating it, society did not destroy desire. It domesticated it. And domesticated desire does not disappear. It goes quiet. It waits. And when a civilization teaches itself to mistrust its own longing, it gains order, but loses something harder to replace. Not pleasure. Meaning. This was not the end of sex. It was the end of surrender, And once surrender disappears from intimacy, something essential about being human disappears with it.